What's going on, everyone? A fun-filled day in Pulse Chain land today. I'm Dane. Welcome to the DeFi Crypto Line Show, where we're doing our best to be the bridge between our fellow real estate investors and entrepreneurs alike and the cryptocurrency world, where crypto is the biggest opportunity over the next few years, and it's not even close. Welcome along on the journey. Corey, take it away.
Absolutely, Corey Gear here, and it's truly blessed to be on this journey with all you people who I feel like are amazing people, everyone who follows us and who's like-minded like us. We are on a journey to create legacy wealth via cryptocurrency and then preserve that wealth through some real estate and some business acquisitions when the timing is right. And we'll be talking about more of that stuff as we're moving along here in the bull. I feel like when we're starting to wind down the DCAing, that's when the time to talk about like what are we going to do with this money as far as a pivot when the market cycle starts to shift. And so, yeah, super crazy day. There's a lot of like just crazy fun everywhere with the SEC, not the SEC, the DOJ has an announcement, or they're going to be talking about CZ and Binance at it's 3 p.m. EST time. It'll be 4 p.m. my time, and was that 12 your time, Dane? I'm thinking.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to be talking about. From what we're seeing, they want $4 billion with a B. Like a B, not an M. I mean, Binance probably could stroke the check. From my understanding, they have just a crazy amount of reserves in Bitcoin. CZ is a very early adopter. He's been a adopter in Bitcoin. He's been around for a very long time. Made a lot of money with his centralized exchange. So maybe he has the capability of stroking the check. He's also talking about, I saw on some of the news, of stepping down from being like the CEO, I guess being the man in the spotlight, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's talking about stepping down, and we'll see what happens here today. And of course, there's some fun over in the Hexagon community, over in Hexaco, that the DOJ is going to say something about Richard Hart. You know, I don't know. I don't know if this press release is geared towards that, you know, or this case, but I mean, I guess it's always plausible they say something about other cases that maybe they've been looking at or they've been addressing, you know, just because they looked at the case doesn't mean they're going to take it on. I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to be tuning in for sure at 3 p.m. EST. So I'd recommend all you guys go and watch it too. It should be good. I hope, man, I hope they really settle with CZ somehow, because I was actually in Crypto Town Hall Day today, this morning, and they had a good point. Altcoin season, about 70% of the liquidity that comes and pumps the alts up during the bull run comes from Binance.
Really?
So so if you have Binance that's like shut down, or for some reason they can't operate now, we're hoping it doesn't, and hoping they pay it and it's a fine, and who knows, or maybe they, I don't know, dismiss it. I don't think that'd be the case. But yeah, it's interesting that most of the liquidity comes from Binance worldwide. That dumps or pumps and dumps altcoins. And so, yeah, that was a very interesting, which means that you would think DeFi would get you think DeFi would be still okay, or even maybe that's bullish for DeFi. I don't know. You can look at it different ways. But yeah, that was another interesting thing that I've heard today. And of course, we talked about a pre-show is man, they're freaking smacking Kraken again. The SEC. They paid him $30 million.
Can you imagine having the power to go and settle a case with Kraken earlier this year and then come back and say, but wait, we don't think we got enough money. Let's do this all over again.
That's wild to me, man. Only 10 months ago. If it was 10 years, okay, I get it. But like 10 months. And it's $30 million. It's not like a light check that they stroked, right? I mean, it won't be nearly as big of a check as CZ, but CZ, that's to the DOJ. Completely different scenario. Man, it is. I don't know, man. I feel like that's why, like, the last week, we've had a lot of just bearish, momentum everywhere. And that's why, we maybe had some, the well or two that we saw dumping, he might have got it flooded out just because of the whole DOJ making their press release announcement today over CZ. Maybe he's thinking they'll slip up and say, oh, yeah, we're also going over Richard Hart. Who knows what the FUD is coming from? But, I mean, yeah, that's a big deal. Hitting the centralized exchange that with the world liquidity enters the alts. Man, it's interesting to think about that, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, in fact, so I've been paying really close attention to some of these traders that are talking about, where the liquidity has been coming from this last Bitcoin pump. A lot of it's been coming at least from the bigger institutional money has been coming through Coinbase. And so that's been interesting to see. And yeah, they talked about, just like you said, that the retail, the masses generally come through Binance. And so what does that actually look like when they settle it? No way they settled for $4 billion. I don't think. I'd give them the bird. And
wild.
I'd give them the bird and I'd move out of the US before I gave away $4 billion as a company to be Binance.
It's wild, $4 billion. And so I guess there's a check that you can stroke for. I mean, to me, that's like a bribe. Like, hey, can I get out of court for free, or not for free, but without any punishment? Here's a $4 billion check, right? It's the same thing if you're like a cop pulls you over for a speeding ticket. You're like, hey, man, can I give you $50? You let me go. They put you in jail for that. But the DOJ is allowed to do that?
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's so funny to me, man. But we're in interesting times. Right before we start to maybe start ticking up in the next market cycle too, man. This could be the last bit of FUD or shakeout, or if it is bad news, the last bit of bad news before we see any bullish momentum again. But yeah, interesting stuff, man. It won't be a full-blown collapse like FTX. Like FTX, that was a collapse. The Binance situation won't be that. So I don't think it'll be
Binance is bigger than FTX.
But I don't think they're going to shut them down and just close doors and then.
Well, they've already moved out of the United States, as far as I'm aware. They have Binance US that got shut down, and so beyond that, like the crypto is worldwide, right? The SEC only has jurisdiction in the United States, and a DOJ case is similar in the United States. So the impact of this, as long as they're solvent, as long as it's not shown that they've been selling off customers' funds in order to manipulate the market, that would be a huge deal. Now, I don't think that's really likely. But man, I mean, I think they've taken the steps to largely move out of the US already. How much more can the SEC do to them other than a fine?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the BNB chart, I would say that chart has been manipulated.
Yeah. To the early guys' benefit, for sure.
Yeah. And I could be wrong, right? Maybe Binance is maybe BNB is the only token that didn't drop. It dropped less than Bitcoin. Like, how does that drop less than the premier store of value, fleet of safety narrative that, how does that drop less unless it's manipulated, in my opinion?
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. So I don't know. If there is some shady deals going on behind closed doors, oh boy, maybe it is
I'm sure there's shady deals going on behind closed doors. I would be shocked if there was nothing. It would be shocking. I mean, I think they're the largest crypto exchange in the world.
Yeah, they are. They are.
To not have some of that mixed into some shady stuff would be really surprising. Is it as deep and ugly as FTX? I'm hopeful it's not. Yeah.
If it is, that would cause another in all markets a pretty serious crash, and even including the Richard Hart assets, even though that wouldn't be tied directly to that, but like it would just cause panic sell. Like the FTX collapse did. It just like the whole entire industry was like, it's a scam, run. And that's kind of what would happen again, I guess, if it was bad as FTX. Man, that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, it is. It is. In other news, the Hex Wells continue to sell, which is pretty interesting. In fact, some of the I think the selling most recently primarily came from one wallet, and it's pretty remarkable how really big wallets can have such a big impact on the ecosystem, at least in the short term. And so, love your feedback in the comments. And Corey, I'll ask you, do you think that over the next bull run that will get enough momentum in order to outpace the inflation that you see from the Hex staking to go and get to obscene multiples? What are your thoughts?
I think in the bull run, it can set up an atmosphere, but yes, I think it can. I think Hex can do just fine with enough buy pressure and retail coming in and going into the narrative of, stake 5555, all the stuff that we hear. I think it can, yeah. But I think though, here's what I predict though. I think just how we could pump up pretty good in the bull run. I think Hex will always I'm gonna get hated for this. I don't love Hex, guys. Okay, I'm a Hex. I got Hex. I stake market cycle stakes. I got a lot of Hex, but I do believe in the bear run. That's where you see that over performance to the downside because of the inflation and the selling. That's where I think it really makes a big impact, is in the bear market. When you're in a bull market, as long as you have more buyers than sellers, you're probably going to be okay with that inflation coming out because the new buyers will be eating it up in the bull market. So in a bull market, I think we'll be fine. I still think Pulse will overperform Hex. And we get a lot of hate for that one too. But in the bear market, that's where you see these problems. And I feel like that's one reason why we've had this. I mean, there's a few reasons why we've gotten so low. Pulse Chain is one of them. Pulse Chain was an absolute detriment to the asset of Hex itself. Because we bottomed in Hex. We bottomed in Hex last year. I don't know if you guys remember, at 1.76 on Ethereum. And it was it was a quick bottom from the Four Horsemen. We popped out of that, and we were hovering at 3 cents before, and then we kept hovering back at 3 cents again after we had bottomed. That was your bottom formation, and it happened right when Bitcoin bottomed. Me and Dane were looking at this yesterday. And then the Pulse Chain fork happens, and then all hell broke loose, and we lost all the liquidity in Hex because it went everywhere else. It went into all 5 assets, and which is fine because your money is just more spread out everywhere. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. We just need a lot of retail coming in, and we can get that if Pulse Chain gets adoption. I always said Pulse Chain is the Trojan horse for Hex. We need Pulse Chain to do well for Hex to do well. Sorry, it's just the way it goes. We're going to need Pulse Chain with the layer 1 narrative, with Cycle 1 coin narrative. Yes, I know these are just narratives, but we need these narratives and need the adoption and retail to come into Pulse Chain. That will be the Trojan horse for Hex. And then some of the gatekeeping will come down and people will buy Hex. And I think we can offset that sell pressure for sure.
Yeah.
During the bull run.
Yeah. We need the bull run. And it's really fascinating to see some of these other tokens with inflation. They struggle, especially in the bear market. I mean, you're seeing things like the incentive token. That chart couldn't be any worse.
Oh, dude, we hit a new low.
That's as bad as Zen. That's saying something. So, I mean, same with the BBC token over on 9inch. It's brutal out there. It's brutal out there, especially with tokens.
9inch made a new low too. Yeah, it looks bad, man. I feel bad for the 9inch guys. I'm actually watching that chart though. There will be a price where I will take some. Yeah. I like the narrative of those guys, what they're trying to do. I also like, what Hexy Bastard did in the town hall the other day, with he paid like 30 racks to go up and talk about Pulse Chain and talk about his project. I think it's very noble of him. I saw people giving him FUD on Twitter. I'm like, you're retarded. Like that was you got to spend money to make money in business. And this is a business for him. And that's all it is. He's paying for marketing. We do it all the time. at our events and stuff. So there's nothing wrong with that. You got to pay to play. But I gave them a lot of props for that. And so I really believe in those guys. I hope they can pull it off. And there's a price, and maybe Access could tell us what that price is. That'd be interesting to know what would be a good dollar cost average price for 9-inch to start picking some of that up. I think it's a good play on Pulse. It could, because it's a very low market cap, very low market cap. And maybe it runs really hard at some point in time.
Sure. What's up, Access?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Last minute here, man.
Yo. CZ steps down from Binance.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. That's
crazy.
At the same time as Kraken's getting hammered by the SEC.
Oh,
Seems
again.
like this is a takeover. Yeah.
Again. Like we play. Yeah. Are we playing 2022 all over again?
It's definitely. I don't know. I'm kind of concerned for like the long-term prospect of mad gains in crypto right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like a lot of the, there might have been some pretty evil things. Like I'm just assuming that the DOJ has proof of like some money laundering or something on Binance, and Binance was probably just innocent in it, just saying, hey, this is a free market and we just have to let it take its course. But if the Department of Justice could find something crazy on Binance and prove it, that a criminal network or some other thing was going on, or washed funds, that's what like initiated this breakdown, right?
Yeah. Breaking news: Binance founder CZ agrees to plead guilty.
Whoa.
I don't know, like what is he pleading guilty to? What are they charging him exactly with?
I don't know, but I did see also this morning that there was $4 billion of BNB transferred from a Binance wallet to the U.S. Treasury wallet.
How much in BNB?
$4 billion. So it's the amount that they want.
Oh, they gave
wow. That is so bearish for BNB. Oh my gosh.
So I don't know.
$4 billion in BNB.
So my thought was, when you look at on-chain and you look at all the BUSD that was out there, that was Binance's stablecoin.
Yeah.
That has been depleted now for like 2 years. Basically, since the beginning of 2022, slowly they've depleted all of their BUSD reserves, which means that I think it was backed by collateral of BNB. So I think BNB at like really high prices was backing BUSD in the same way that liquid loans on Pulse Chain will back the stablecoin, right? But except they're doing it on a centralized order book, right? But except that on the chain, like what we're gonna have, it'll be all transparent on the blockchain. Same concept though. You're over collateralizing an asset to create stable coins out of thin air. So you can actually go back and you can look through and see that all that BUSD stablecoin has been basically they depleted those reserves to zero. And so now that risk is off the table, and they've given all of this BNB to the U.S. Treasury. Now, what are they going to do with it? Like they started, let's say they started to sell it from a market maker angle. A lot of the risks to the traders on the platform, the people using Binance, is probably gone because they're no longer over leveraged. Like that BNB doesn't back anything anymore, so it's just an artificial number. So if they go to sell it, it'll just push the price down, but there won't be any collateral damage. So I think that's a good thing. But yeah, they must have some other angle on a lot of these exchanges, because why would you go for Kraken and CZ all at the same time?
And why Kraken twice? I don't understand how the $30 million on the first time wasn't enough to say, okay, go away and we're good to go. I just don't get it.
Well, see, I think it's regulatory capture. I think they want to take over. Not when I say the world powers, they do not want crypto to be free running and have all these new billionaire, trillionaire class of people to come up, this new money. Like nobody wants that. Like you have to keep some form of tight lid controls on this stuff. And their way of doing it was to surround the perimeter on all these companies and trap them and force their hand. And now this is why I'm worried for the future of crypto is I'm sure that enough big institutions that follow regulations have all the Bitcoin by this point, or governments have all the Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin's like the golden child now. So now the whole world's going to get on board with Bitcoin, and that can go up to high prices, but everything else kind of gets left behind. It just doesn't seem fair. That's kind of where I see this heading in the short term, at least. And you can see how far. If you took a, so you two guys are in my group. Last night we went over all the charts, and it looked really, really bad for altcoins and for.
I saw that.
Yeah, just because they've been underperforming like crazy this part of the cycle, and Bitcoin is like halfway through a bull market, and altcoins haven't done shit. So it's like, what's really going on? 2024 is the year of altcoins, and so I wonder if taking these guys down one by one like dominoes doesn't slow down altcoin adoption or stop it altogether, and this just becomes a game of Bitcoin, and then maybe Ethereum gets like a percentage of the gains. It's kind of crazy.
It's interesting speculation. Yeah.
Richard Hart just tweeted about it, about Binance and CZ.
Oh, did he? I'll pull it up. Let me find it.
He just tweeted.
Let me find it. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal. We got a few days until RH's thing takes the next step forward.
I think it's just going to be my opinion is that they're going to grant more time for the SEC to serve them. That's what I see happening. I think it's going to be a big giant nothing burger. Yeah, you're allowed 3 more months. Go find them.
Yeah, well, and this is kind of like my part 2 to all this is you're still not stopping DeFi. You can try to kill the on-ramps and off-ramps, but new ones will pop up, and a lot of that is going to have to be offshore, like not in the U.S. Right. That's kind of what I see it happening is like the government's literally going to push DeFi offshore, because the one thing they control is like when we go to cash out, like if they get control of Kraken and they get control of Binance and they get control of Coinbase one way or the other, then like people have less and less options for cash out.
Yeah, I'm flying to Panama in the beginning of this year to meet with Randy Halarski, and I'm going to set up a Tower Bank account in Panama. I'm not. You can off ramp right directly through their bank. I'm not. Yeah, they're not going to stop me from off ramping if I need to get out in the middle of a bull run.
Right. Well, and then think about this too with me for a second is let's go forward 10 or 20 years in the future. Does it get to a point where off ramping is less needed? Like, do we get to a point where DeFi just kind of, if all of the gains is like stripped away from Bitcoin, people see that the only way that forward to beat inflation is through DeFi. Is there a reality where we actually just trade on chain via DeFi and we create our own stable coin on chain, like we're talking, like with liquid loans? But there really is no off ramping anymore. Like if there's like people just start I'm talking about 20 years from now. Like we just start accepting the stuff as it is because there's no other choice.
Assuming that we don't get strangled out somehow.
Right, which is what it feels like is happening right now. Is like they're coming down hard on all the different connector points to the real world. It's definitely crazy, man. It's this is the end of an era for sure. CZ stepping down. He was like the reason why FTX thing didn't go through. He shut down FTT token. Yeah, because he knew how much corruption was going on over there, and he didn't want to go out of business. So there's angry people in regulatory positions, and looks like it just looks like this is just a big beatdown on everyone. But who wins on all this is the Bitcoiners, because Bitcoin has already got the green light. Crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know, the example I keep thinking back to is the early Napster days where, you could download stuff over dial-up internet. It was slow and clunky. But man, like the stuff that you want to download, it's never been more available to download today. And if you know in the right places, they'll look pretty well everything for free. And I think that's a really interesting example for where DeFi could head, and that, like you're saying, Axis, there might be some, you might have to go and operate in some different places than you would normally. But yeah, there'll always be opportunity, and I'm really curious to see the evolution of the technology, to see how people continue to foster opportunity, because make no mistake about it, I think we all agree that unless you turn the internet off, DeFi will be here forever. It's just a matter of how you participate in it.
How do you get in? How do you get out?
Yeah. and frankly, like it has me feeling more bullish long term for Richard Hart's stuff. It's really interesting to see him decentralize the bridge, run the code on your own computer. It's really interesting to see him do that with Hex and really, moving himself out of the equation. So if God forbid something happens to him, it'd be negative for price, at least initially, but he can leave it to us, and he has to be able to go and make of it what we will.
Well, maybe this is what like real decorrelation looks like at the ground floor. Fundamentally, when you decorrelate from something, what does it mean? It means you're separating two bodies, right? If like, look at how underperformed eHex has done now relative to the rest of the market now for a few months, right? Since the fork. Is that not already just showing us like we're decorrelating away from everything else in a way? It just happened to be to the downside. And then, what does that look like from ground zero? When this comes back up, is the rest of the market gonna, like, when does the masses realize that where the opportunity is at in this, right? And then they adopt that, and it continues to be decorrelated away, right?
Right.
Motley says Binance did not send $4 billion worth of BNB. I just saw a tweet. I don't know. I can't confirm.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to get the update. And I would be willing to bet. I mean, you probably see the Kraken and the Binance stuff happen at the same time. Under they're both wrapped up with the same people, doing whatever they were doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, this is like a super long-term play, and the opportunity is still going to be in DeFi no matter what. I think walking away from Bitcoin and Ethereum was not the wrong decision to make because there's just the opportunity is not there anymore for me.
Yeah.
For a lot of regular guys. So what are you going to do? Buy 10 BTC and hold on to it for 15 or 20 years, and maybe it's worth $250,000 or $500,000 a piece. I mean, That's what a lot of big money is going to do, but it's not going to satisfy all the degens. So I think that inevitably the cutting edge is where we're at. And like I said, we're decorrelating away from the rest of the market and doing our own thing. And eventually we could totally decouple away from Bitcoin cycles altogether. It's kind of where I see this going. And it's just like a perpetual bull market, like you saw with Amazon for a decade. It's like one of those things where like you can't know it now because it hasn't happened yet. But with any amount of like real adoption and real money flowing in, it could just totally do something separate if enough roadblocks are put in, like these types of actions.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. I'm excited to hear the announcement. Yeah, later today. We will see. We're here for it. We are here for it.
Yeah, Crypto Banter will be live streaming it. I'm sure you can probably actually find the press conference somewhere on YouTube. But I'll probably tune into Crypto Banter's live stream on that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to look at the 9-inch chart.
Yeah. Can you give me some perspective about that chart? Of what you think would be a good DCA? Because it's getting wrecked.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy this chart at all. I don't.
It's getting absolutely wrecked. Then.
So Pulse X went down 90%. There's 90%.
Oh, that's a good point. What price is that down there?
5826. 5826.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's got to fall another 50% basically to get down to Pulse X prices. I mean, this is not a good looking chart, and I wish I knew what the distribution looked like, but this actually had 64 billion pulse in this pair at one point. And so, this is the problem with giving, and by the way, I'm not talking, when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not talking about any particular founder or the way that they particularly managed anything. I'm talking about as a whole, when you're a founder and you receive a bunch of money and a lot of it goes into the pools right away, what can happen is you can get fucking rugged like this, and you can lose millions and millions of dollars of pulse liquidity to guys that got your relatively free token and just watched it go up in huge value, and they could just nuke and take free money off the table, which is why there's like a fine line of making sure there's enough liquidity to service the market and not so little that the price chart literally looks like this. but just enough so that, you know, you can get some nice movement and then a retracement and then a floor and then some nice movement. But to do this, you need to actively manage the pools. You can't just put in, you know, 64 billion pulse and let people come in here and ape in, and then all of a sudden those guys that have all the 9-inch, they could just dump perpetually like this. And now who's got all that pulse is whoever had the 9-inch from the beginning. And the less work that was put in to get the 9-inch, like let's say a referral program, the less incentive they have to hold. So not a good situation, man. Not a good situation for these guys at all. And they're not alone. I've seen it happen with other tokens. Like I don't quote me on this because I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the up token, it's in a bearish divergence right now. So it looks like it's actually about to break down. But I heard, I don't want to spread rumors if it's false, but I did hear that they lost, when I say they, that the founders of this lost half the SAC phase money on this period of time in here. So that was supposed to be for their benevolent wallet. Just through liquidity providing, like putting too much on the market. And
you know what you're doing with LP, and you can get wrecked really fast.
Well, yeah. that's what I'm trying to say is like you got to be really careful with, and it's got to be actively managed. It takes a team of people to actively manage LP. You can't just like set LP in here at the beginning. Like let's say right in here you put in, let's say right at this level here you put in 60 billion pulse into the pools. Well, what's that mean is like people could there's less slippage, right? But they do this where they just extract. And we're still, for the pulse chain ecosystem, we're not out of the woods yet on the bear mindset. So it's very high risk to put all that on the market and let people have their take of it.
Well, let's talk about the exact opposite two axis where they put no liquidity, like Mintra.
Yeah, we can look at
nothing
Mintra
in the pool. And so it has an opposite effect.
I saw it get up to, at one point I saw this number get up to like 380K. And the problem with these sacrifices is like there's a sacrifice set, a pinch of people who didn't have their money for a long time and they're looking for a return, right? And so it's like, what are they supposed to do if they don't see any liquidity in here? If they start to sell, it slips the price down hard. And then let's say this big buy candle comes in and then they add liquidity in here, but it just repeated the same pattern out again. So that's why I can use the axis chart as an example of a chart that didn't have a sacrifice phase and people didn't know about it. It was stealth launched, and that's what made it be able to go straight up for 4 months. Is because the people had to organically find out about it on their own, and they didn't have any to sell, and if they wanted in, they had to buy some, right? So I mean, this literally big red candle here, this looks like a rug candle. This was created by a guy that found out about it and bought at between $5 and $10. And now he's only got 2.8 coins left and he's out. So there was only 2 guys that even got in back here. But it's different from these sacrifice phase coins where people are sitting on huge stacks and they put in real money up front with expectations, whether they want to admit it or not. And then when you put a lot of liquidity on the market, it can be extracted out because they expect returns. So you can expect that it will be extracted out. If you don't put any liquidity in, then there's nothing to trade into, which usually creates more volatility. In this case, it's basically got this chart flatlined.
It looks like it's trending downward.
It is.
It is a slight trend downward.
Yep, because nobody's going to want to sell. I don't remember I can't remember. I don't know what the SAC rate was. I wish I knew the actual number. If somebody knows,
the same as Pulse and Pulse X. It was $1 for 10,000.
So so 3 zeros and a 1.
Yeah,
3 zeros and a 1.
But I think he had other bonuses on top, like Pulse did. I'm not sure if it was a volume bonus. I can't remember because I actually did SAC for this. I wish I didn't, but I did. And I can't remember there was a volume bonus or if there was a front and line type bonus, but he did have some bonuses in there somewhere.
Okay, so it's either this level here, which is the 001, or it's this level here with 3 zeros and a 1. And so it seems like people aren't too eager to sell with this little bit of liquidity, 63K. But if let's say they came in and they put in $5 million of liquidity, what's going to stop you from coming in above SAC rate and just extracting a shit pile of pulse and pushing this chart down? So adding liquidity here for a coin that's been sacked for could be brutal. Like you almost want to wait make the market have to add liquidity on their own to create a rebound structure. So where people keep putting money in, and it's like this kind of situation where some guys buy some guys sell some guys buy some guys sell some, versus the market maker coming in and adding $5 million of liquidity right here, and then an early sacker can just come in and extract a shit pile of that pulse out. Now, nobody's made better for that except the guy that sold. Whereas, like, if the founders still hold the liquidity, then at some point in the future, they can use it in other ways, either through buying, burning, or through adding liquidity incrementally, like what I've been seeing with this Mintra chart week. Let's pull up Pulse XV2. Oops. App.
While you're pulling that up, Brizology says, what if the announcement is that the U.S. is getting rid of the dollar and is adopting the BNB coin as the national currency? Do you think that'll be the announcement today?
Bullish, Brizology.
Bullish.
Briz,
Bullish on BNB.
Freaking you troll, Briz. How dare you? I think this is the V2 pair. So you could see here how the liquidity's changed. It's actually near. This is going back to the 18th. Does that sound right for a launch date, October 18th?
Yeah.
So they at one point there was 60K, and then of course that sell-off happened on the chart.
Yeah.
Which meant that 60 grand got extracted all the way down to 10 grand. That probably happened in this period here.
Right there.
So if it wasn't 60 grand, what if it was 600 grand? You'd have the same thing, except that one or two guys would have got more pulse.
Right.
Because the way that these order books work is, like, let's say, it's so hard for me to explain, but so if the first guy to sell is going to get the most, right? Because the ratio gets hit hardest right away, and then as the price falls, there's less and less pulse for grabs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So so then what? Since the October 28th ish, it's kind of been flat here. Well, what have we looked like on LP since the 28th?
Same.
So somebody injected LP back in here, and now it's been kind of stabilized, right? So that 60,000 is a nice probably price floor for that level, right? That's probably a nice. So far, we haven't seen a second group of people to come in that needs to sell Mintra today and push this back down. So this is good. This is a sign of healthy stabilization in the LP. Now they could start to like put little bits in, like $10,000 every so often, to see if they can build this liquidity pool up from here. And not get, like, let's say they built it up from 1 billion pulse to 3 billion pulse, you 3x the liquidity on the pulse side. And then, but what it does is it slows down price up too, right? Because then it costs more money to push the price up. And if there's guys sitting on big bags of Mintra, they can easily just pull that off the market. So it's just people that made sacrifice coins are in a rough place right now, because like they, different from what Axis and Fire tokens did, they have this huge overhead cost, which is all the guys that paid them up front for a coin or a project. Sorry to be the bear.
I threw my Mintra in PHUX. I'm earning, like, I don't know, I think it was like 50% or something inside PHUX. So I was like, I'll just throw it in there, make some passive income on it, and let it sit, see what it does.
Monty made a good point. He said that these PH ecosystem coins have millions and millions of dollars of LP, and that's true. And that's why they performed like this.
I'm up on all my PH sacrifices.
Yeah, but they haven't like done anything crazy though, is my point.
No, they haven't gone parabolic either. No,
and they're just losing value right now, technically.
Yeah.
So, but you're making more of them, right? So like you're getting more of them, but they're kind of flat or falling. So
you're getting more of the PHUX token. You're not getting more of Fame or fiat necessarily, unless you're swapping your yield for more of it. Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, candle closed down. It's down 50%. Even if you're making more of it every day, I mean, you basically have to outpace this rate of decay of price to stay ahead.
I'm bullish on Fame and fiat. The FUX system, I love the tokenomics they did, where you can lock up FUX to increase the yield boost on your pools. But the problem is with all incentive tokens, it's just that it's an incentive token. Eventually, someday it will have its day where it's just going to trend down forever. I feel like we see this with every single incentive token.
Any kind of payment coin is negative externalities.
It's negative externalities.
It's just Here's Fame. What does Fame do again?
It's the leverage trading
the
platform.
GMX fork. The
No,
GMX
I know what the platform does. I was wondering what the token does.
You stake it for a portion of the platform's fees.
Yeah. So, I mean, so what the goal should be for this token is that they keep it flat in a range forever, so that your fees are consistent, right? That would be ideal. But if somebody gets enough of it from all the fees, like somebody has a lion's share of it, and then they decide to dump, they would break it down out of this range.
Right, but you'd have to. You don't earn the Fame token as part of the fees. You have to swap your. Yeah, you're earning it in terms of Pulse and Hex.
Okay, that's cool.
Stables. So you'd have to swap it for more Fame if that's what you wanted.
So does Fame have a hard cap?
Yep.
Okay, so then that's a good thing, right? So because now you're getting paid in something valuable, right?
Right.
So people should always tie these kinds of incentive coins to whatever the yielding mechanism should be in the native coin, like Pulse, or some people might use Hex. One of these coins that's like got a bigger community behind it, and maybe even like, is there a world where like you can receive fees in any pair that or any coin on the platform, right? So you could get it in PulseX as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah. In fact, I could pull it up. Let me pull up so you get PHLP, and then when you go and cash out your PHLP, you can choose what you want to receive that in terms, since PHLP represents a mixed basket of assets,
including Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, that's dope. And then fiat, which is what's the tokenomics on that one?
Very similar. You stake it to earn rewards, and you're earning the fees that people pull out on the loans. Like, say you take a loan out on Hex, then you're going to get paid a fee of that interest in Hex to the fiat token. Mm-hmm. So once again, you're getting paid in the other assets, whether it be Hex, Bitcoin, Ethereum. So it works almost the same as Fame does. We're just not seeing a whole lot of activity on fiat, so the yield's a lot lower right now. So yeah, it's very similar. Fiat is. Okay. It's an Aave fork. I'm very bullish on both of these protocols. I'm undetermined now on PHUX. Although PHUX is needed, it's nice. I just feel like the incentive token idea is always getting wrecked.
Yeah, and it was given away for free. It was. So, it's hard to beat free in that respect.
Yeah, I got quite a few coins for free.
Yeah. But for PHLP, I mean, you can see you're earning Pulse, PulseX, Hex, ETH, BTC, and then some stables. And so when you go to sell the PHLP, you get a pick of these assets, what you want to receive back.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, no, that's valuable to me. Like, I think that's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, agreed. I agree.
Yeah, so I guess, go ahead.
What do you guys think? Paul asked a good question here. He says, what's the linchpin macro-wise that makes RH show his face again? CZ possibly turning himself in. And then he says, everyone outside of our ecosystem has said RH coming back is what will make them bullish on our ecosystem. Hey, you guys have any hot takes on this one? What would make Richard come back?
It's not CZ turning himself in. That wouldn't make RH come back. I don't think that would have any bearing.
I don't know
on because it's not really directly relevant to our case. Although there might be some things that could cross. We'll find out today when the DOJ talks. But yeah, I don't see CZ turning himself in. Doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Do you, maybe a better question? Do you guys think that Richard will show his face before the SEC case is figured out?
No, I don't. I personally don't. Why would you? I would just lay back and be mellow until this gets more clarification. I mean, why would you? I'm sure his attorneys too are suggesting to him to not show his face. And I mean, he's releasing now some podcasts. We had that 45-minute podcast from him like a couple weeks ago. I mean, it was just as good as a live stream. When I was listening to that, I was like, man, this is like the normal Richard that we used to watch back in the day. It was no different. I mean, do we have to see him live on TV? Is that what we need? God, are we that like?
Everyone wants to see him streaming again. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people just think that that's what it's going to take to get the price to move. But if he was to come on today, I don't think the price would move.
I don't think so either. I'm with you, Axis. Yeah,
so maybe
short term, a very little bit, but then it'll be by the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah, no, I thought that audio clip that he posted the other day was refreshing.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was optimistic, and look, strategically, he can't do anything. He can't come out. He can't come on video. He can't move sacrifice funds around. None of that stuff. So his hands are tied until this is behind us. And once that happens, it's all gloves are off, and you'll probably see the most impressive crypto move you've ever seen in the history of cryptocurrency at scale, right?
That is true.
Yeah, it's just going to be crazy to see that because of how long and how depressed we are.
Yep, that's a good take.
I just don't see it. I don't see a situation where we get shut down. Like, obviously, technically that's not possible, but there's been no crime committed here. Everything's been transparent since day one, since the launch of Hex on December 2nd, 2019. He said publicly, he's like, look, this is just a coin. You make your own rewards. It can go down 89%. It can even go down to 0. No expectations. Fails the Howey test. And everything else that he's built has been a branch off of that vine. And so from a technical and legal angle, he's covered his bases since the beginning. And now we just have to weather the storm. And once it's behind us, yeah, he'll come back on.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, Paul, that's a fair take. He said a standard last cycle for the confidence of buys. Yeah, people are, it's a fair take.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think people think that it's done, but it's so wrong. It's so bad.
Right. Agreed. Cool. We appreciate you jumping in today, Axis. I know it was super short notice. Anything you guys want to cover before we jump off today?
Only thing for me is that I finally nailed him down. We're going to have Big K on tomorrow, so that's going to be a fun one to hear his story, his crypto journey, and what his thoughts are of where we're at in all this. So, he'll be on tomorrow, guys. Try not to miss out. We also obviously, we're not going to stream on Thanksgiving or Black Friday. We will be taking the time off. You guys should take the time off too. Spend it with family. Don't look at the crypto charts. Hang out with family. Eat some turkey. It's good for you. And that's all I got.
Yeah, have a fantastic Thanksgiving, everybody. I'll be going offline for a few days, a week or so. And when I get back, be prepped and ready to look at some red candles. Hopefully not, but just prepare you up front.
Right. Cool. Once again, appreciate you jumping in, Axis. Appreciate you guys in the chat. We'll catch you later. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. See you guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.